I want to invite every woman to ask themselves, what is a man hunting or chasing?
A sex?
Yeah, sex. It's not like we go running around going, I want a relationship. I want a relationship. Men don't do that. We don't go singing like that kind of shit. We're hunting sex.
Welcome back to the Scarlet Edit. I am your host, Nikki Corbett. This week's guest is no stranger to the podcast space. He has a thriving YouTube channel with over 200,000 subscribers. He is an author and a sought-after coach for those in midlife seeking to better know themselves and find the relationship that they have dreamed of. I am confident that you will love this conversation that I had with Jonathon Aslay. We talked about self-love, first dates and feeling neutral, red and green flags, and so much more. Let's get into it. Jonathon Aslay, welcome. Did I say your name right?
You said it perfectly, Nikki.
I did? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, awesome.
You get 5 stars for so far.
5 stars. I love it. All right. Well, Jonathon Aslay, welcome to the Scarlet Edit.
I'm so excited to be here. Oh my God, listening to my bio. No, I'm just kidding. Is that really me?
I know. I do. It's so funny. When this woman read it back to me, I was just like, is that me? Did I write that about myself? Is it all true? Can someone fact check me?
You know what's happened? Sometimes some people like to rewrite it in their own style. And I'm like, oh my God, I love that. Send it to me. Oh my.
I love it. I love it. That's great. So let's dive into this self-love topic because I think it is super important. And it's interesting to me as I've taken on this journey with this relationship-focused podcast. And I was writing a list of questions for myself and things to think about one day with the help of ChatGPT. And it did come back. One of the questions that it suggested was, how I can help people find love. And I was like, no, I cannot help you find love. I can help you work on yourself, but I'm not like a matchmaker. Yeah. So tell me how you decided to dive into the topic of self-love.
Gosh, I could go down so many rabbit holes on this one, which I do frequently. What started was I was blogging about self-love because, it was kind of a buzzword some years ago. And, and some people from what I observed, some people associated self-love with like self-care, whether it's manicures, pedicures, that sort of thing, massages. And did you notice how I framed that self-care? And certainly that's a self-love practice, but I wanted to really dive into what does it mean to love yourself. So I started to blog about it. Like self-love means this. And so I just started a whole series of blogs. Self-love means this, self-love means that. And as I started to explore what it meant to me, I think of a lot of other juicy self words like self-worth, self-confidence, self-reliance, self-esteem, self-discipline, and like, well, in my mind, all of those juicy self words are encapsulated in loving oneself. But self-love can be a turnoff to some people. And you've even heard people say, well, you can't love another until you love yourself. And that kind of turns me off too. So I look at self-love as for those of us who are adults, okay? I mean, you're we'll say over 21 years old. We all have an emotional 6-year-old inside of us. And quite frankly, many of us have just a dysfunctional emotional 6-year-old inside of us.
Definitely.
It's not a very curated emotional child that we have. And self-love is really, in my purview, my mind, is nurturing the emotional 6-year-old inside of us that doesn't know how to regulate its emotions, doesn't know how to process adult concepts. And when you're a 6-year-old and your parent or someone in an authority speaks to you oftentimes in adult language, a 6-year-old doesn't know how to process, things. And so I think we all need to love that little 6-year-old inside of us.
I mean, I definitely agree with that. I feel like it was only recently, maybe in the last 5 years, where I started hearing about that like inner child and that people working to love that inner child and do right by that inner child and take care of that inner child. And it's such an interesting topic. And it certainly has, at least for me, it's made me think about things in a lot of different ways as I'm going about life and making changes and doing things for myself.
Sure.
But you said something that caught my attention where you said that how can you love someone else until you love yourself? And that can be kind of a turn off. Now, why do you feel that way, or why do you think people think that?
So, well, okay, a couple different reasons. And I think that's really another great question is that, I think self love is something we do our entire lives. So it's not a destination. It's about filling one's cup up. But I don't think we ever fully evolve, fully awaken, maybe until like 7 minutes or 7 seconds before your deathbed. I think you're
Yep.
fully actualized is part of the reason why I say that. But you know, it's the difference between loving yourself in kind of
Uh,
an action versus the concept you have to love yourself before you can love another. In other words, you have to be like, I don't believe we're ever fully actualized in that way. So it's more of a ongoing action versus a destination. And that's why
okay,
I
that's
framed it
fair.
that way. Because
Hmm.
I mean, I'm in a significant relationship, but boy, do I have hangups, do I have issues, and do I nurture that little 6-year-old inside of me? Yeah, I mean, in fact, relationships trigger our stuff. Relationships trigger. I mean, as you were sharing in my bio, I believe the number one emotional wound that we have is I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not likable. And boy, you can be out of a relationship and get that triggered, but when you're in a relationship, you can get even more triggered. And that's where nurturing one's soul requires mindfulness, it requires intentionality, it requires a desire to want to push past your limitations, but most importantly, it requires looking in the mirror because Nikki, I got to tell you something. I was watching a show called Couples Therapy and I've watched a
Uh-huh.
gazillion episodes. It's on Showtime. And boy, do the partners in those couple sessions, it's like, it's his fault. It's her fault. It's his fault. It's her fault. I'm
Right.
like, you got to look in the mirror, honey, or dude.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we all play a role, but I mean, it is so true about what you're saying how, the self-love it's a constant journey. It's not you just one day get there and then you're like, "Okay, check that off the list. What
Yeah.
can I work on now?" But also with being in relationships and how they can like trigger those certain things and those feelings and those memories, if you
Yeah.
look back, I know there are times where I take a look back or I think back on, things that happened in junior high or elementary school. And I'm like, oh, that's maybe why I'm the way I am with that. Or maybe that's why I feel a certain way if somebody treats me a one way or says something to me. And I might respond when it's like, maybe it's really not that big of a deal. Like, why am I taking so much offense to this? Or why are my feelings
Yeah.
hurt right now?
Well,
Yeah.
when you mentioned earlier and talking about when we're younger, I look at life like my son did coding for programming, right? He did coding,
Okay.
and coding's is X and O's and all that kind of stuff. And you write all this code to make this program perform. Well, every life experience we had from the moment we were birthed was a life experience that creates code.
Yeah.
And when you're coding, if you mess up somewhere, it
Yeah. Yeah.
eventually creates glitches and viruses and all this kind of stuff. So every experience we ever have is like code and it's affecting us.
Hmm.
And it might been, I was bullied in school, for example, that created
Uh-huh.
code. I had a third grade teacher call me stupid in front of the classroom. That created code. And by the way, that particular code defined my life. That code of
Wow.
like, I'm stupid. When an authority person said that to me, I literally created a belief system about myself that I'm stupid.
Mhm.
And it's
That's
taken a
so
lot of
wild.
inner work, as you said, to really heal from all. I mean, and by the way, we have so much code. I mean, it's like trillions of lines of code, we have. And you can find one poignant moment like the school teacher or the
Uh-huh.
bully or something that was so minor like your mother and father just said no to you, at Christmas. And all of a sudden that became a pivotal moment in your life. It was so trivial to some degree.
So, okay, so you said you started along this journey because you saw this like lack or this gap in the
Yeah.
dating and relationships. So I want to talk with you about what you've learned since, having this moment and deciding to go on this path. Now, the other night, I have been using Threads a lot to kind
Okay.
of test out different questions, doing
Okay.
polls, like seeing what people are responding to. So
Okay.
I put out a question into the Threads universe,
Okay.
and I said, women in your 40s,
Excuse me.
bless you. I
Thank
said,
you.
women in your 40s, where do you live and what is dating like where you are?
Yeah.
I got over 150 responses
Okay.
from women all over the world, and there was not one positive response.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that is overwhelmingly disheartening.
Yeah.
If literally women everywhere are saying it sucks where I am.
Yeah.
And so I have a handful of questions as to why
Okay.
that might be. So I
Okay.
was thinking about this topic of self-love and having this conversation with you because you talk to a lot of people. You've been doing this for a while. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, first and foremost, like what's your initial reaction to the output of that question?
So, God, my first reaction is, well, I hate exercise. I hate exercise. I hate exercise. I hate exercise. But you want to lose weight, you want to get in shape. But if you
Uh-huh.
hate something, you're less likely to do it. And,
Fair.
personally, I think exercise is a pain in the ass, but I know some people that love to exercise.
Mhm.
They love to lift weights. They love the endorphin, rush and everything else. So your mindset plays a huge role in it. Now, I understand
Totally.
why you got 100 responses that's negative because they've had disappointing experiences. Furthermore, they might have had some positive experiences, but it's overshadowed by all the negative experience. So they're focusing on the negative and forgotten any positive experiences they've had. The other thing is, and no disrespect to women, you guys operate from fantasy based dating. And I'm being
Okay.
intentionally
Uh-huh,
antagonistic
uh-huh.
here.
Yes, I
Okay.
I I like it. So
Okay.
explain
Okay.
more.
Well, there's the whole, and I'm jokingly saying you've adopted the Cinderella, or the movie The Notebook or Serendipity or that sort of thing. That love is just supposed to be some grand, fun adventure, that it should just be, rainbows and sunshines. And if it's not rainbows and sunshine, excuse me, it's not the right fit. And more importantly, we've human beings adopt this belief that chemistry equals relationship success. I mean, it is so ingrained in our current dating structure, the way swiping right, swiping left. If I
Yeah.
don't have chemistry, I'm not going to move forward. So it's
Mhm.
created an environment where dating is hyper focused on attraction,
Mm.
entertainment, romance, and physical connection without
Yeah.
any real regard to genuine compatibility, genuine shared values, genuine lifestyle compatibility. And the most important thing, Nikki, is emotional maturity. And
Yes.
we are swimming in a sea of emotional dysfunctionality. And the problem is everybody is pointing the finger that it's all everyone else's without looking in the mirror,
Mhm.
kind of like that couples therapy show I was talking about. And if you're
Yeah.
not looking in the mirror, if you're not focused on healing your childhood wounds, your adult traumas, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing
Same
over and over
thing.
again. And that's why those 100 women, they're looking at it from the lens of woundedness, no disrespect, but not from a lens of, beautiful possibilities, you
Okay.
know?
So in the defense of women,
Okay.
I am curious though, do you agree or disagree that there is a significant lack of effort being shown by men to court women the way
Okay.
that it used to be done?
Okay. So let me just, in all fairness to the women that I just kind of throw under the bus a moment ago, men are just fucking, by the way, can I curse?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. So men are fucking clueless. Okay. And I'm
Yeah.
just going to point out that from that vantage point, and in addition, you know, women have heard for centuries, for at least decades, men love the hunt, men love the chase. They've heard that.
Yeah.
But I want to invite every woman to ask themselves, what is a man hunting or chasing?
Sex?
Yeah, sex. It's not like we
Yeah.
go running around going, I want a relationship. I want a relationship. Men don't do that. We don't go singing like that kind of shit. We're hunting
Yeah.
sex. So, what's happened, unfortunately, with the ease of connection through our devices, through, apps and dating sites, it's made it easy to pursue their biological desire to get laid.
Mhm.
And they're not.
Mhm.
So, coming back to your question, why aren't they courting? Why aren't they, you know, operating that way? Well, courting is simply being intentional about what you want. Okay.
Yes.
That's what courting is, being an intentional about, but it requires two people being intentional. It's not the man's responsibility to court. It's responsibility in my world, two people courting each other. Okay. The challenge is, particularly, I focus on midlife, which is after baby making years and before retirement. Roughly
Yeah.
75% of singles over 45 years old are divorced. And
Wow.
divorce, roughly, I mean, you have the never married and the widowers in that category too, but mostly divorced. And divorce comes with it the unraveling of the tapestry of a life you had with another human being. And what happens is very few people do any real introspective work, any real soul searching work, any inner child work, personal development to heal from the divorce is a traumatic experience.
Absolutely. But do you feel that that men do that less than women? I
I
feel
do
like
believe men often, well, we're raised to be emotionally vacuous, emotionally, I mean, we're literally raised to be emotionally unavailable. Now, that's not all men, but a big percentage of men.
yeah, well,
Um,
what my point in asking was that, I mean, having been in that exact category, right?
yeah,
Midlife, divorced, um, and knowing how much work I've done on myself to get to
yeah.
where I am at this point in my life, and then having met numerous men out in the wild who are like, "Oh yeah, like I was married for 20 years and I moved out last month." And I'm like, "Okay, how do you even think you're emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all the things available to dive into something new with somebody else?"
Well, so I've always I want to say both, men are good people. Most men are good people. They're just bad daters.
Yeah,
And both men and women, most of the time, most people are good, kind-hearted people for the most part. Now, what you're describing is cluelessness. You're describing naivety. You're describing sometimes ambivalence and ignorance in there. So I think they're just unaware because we've adopted a fantasy that if we have this chemistry with someone, that it's magically going to work out. And men and women both, men equally subscribe to that fantasy. If I have chemistry with a person, it's going to work because none of us have really been taught good relationship skills. Most of us have weak emotional maturity. That's the facts we're dealing with. So the reason why I promote self-love is because I believe the journey to self-awareness requires loving on oneself, and self-awareness is knowing your negative patterns, your limiting beliefs, your fears, your insecurities, your judgments, your how your actions affect another human being. And we have a lot of people unintentionally being myopic in the dating realm, going, I want my needs met, not coming from a place of what I can give, but from a place of what I can get. And sadly, that's a big percentage of men in the dating marketplace.
do you think that both men and women are too quick to write somebody off in dating?
So I have a personal share to illustrate this. I'm in a
Please.
very significant relationship.
Uh-huh.
And our first, we met through a dating app. We actually met through three dating apps before we finally met.
Oh
It's
my
kind of
gosh.
funny: Bumble, Match, and then Hinge. If
Okay.
anyone's curious.
Did you
So
match on each one and then just never
we
found the
we
time to
matched
go
on
out?
one. We had an exchange, and then it fell flat because you're talking to
Okay.
several people at the same time,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And then 3 months later, I saw her on Match, and I just said, "Hey, how's dating going?" And she responded back, and that didn't go anywhere. And then 5 months later, she messaged me. I said, "Hey, do you remember me?" She goes, "Yeah, I have a vague memory." And we end up getting on the phone. And it turns out, coincidentally, over a course of a 3-hour conversation, we realized we have lots of mutual friends. We
Oh my
actually
gosh.
even crossed paths at like
Uh-huh.
2 events. Like I
How
was coming there,
funny.
she was leaving, I was getting there kind of thing. So we end up having we end up meeting for coffee at a hotel overlooking the marina in Marina del Rey. Um, we had a 5-hour conversation.
Wow.
But after the and we had a great conversation. I'm like, I put her in the friend zone.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't feel that chemistry. I didn't feel that pull. And
Uh-huh.
what's interesting is 2 days later, she had messaged me afterwards. We messaged each other and we got on a phone call and she said, "So what do you think, Jonathan?" I'm like, "I got to be honest with you. I'm neutral." And she
Uh-huh.
goes, "I'm neutral too."
Okay.
So
Interesting.
we're like, there wasn't this chemistry. There wasn't this pull towards one another.
Mhm.
So we end up spending the next 5 hours on the phone unpacking that.
Wow. Okay, this is cool.
Okay. So then I'm like, God, I really like this person. I like the 5 hours we had together. I like this person.
Yeah.
We kept going, why is it we check off all these effing boxes, but we weren't
Mhm.
feeling chemistry? And I'll get to that point in a second.
Yeah. No, this is really intriguing to me.
Okay, so this gets even better. So then
Yeah.
I'm like, the next morning I wake up, I'm thinking about her. I text her, she texts me, we jump on a phone call. We end up, and she's retired. I work semi-retired. So,
Uh-huh.
and so we end up that day having another 5-hour conversation, a couple hours here, a couple hours there.
Holy
And I'm
smokes.
really liking this person. And then the next day, a 5-hour conversation, a couple hours here, a couple hours there, a couple
Uh-huh.
hours at
Oh
night.
my gosh.
This goes on for 10 days from the day we met.
Okay.
And she had said, "Hey, we should get together." She said, I think she said, "You're becoming my best male non-gay friend," or something like that. Like we're
Uh-huh.
developing a real friendship. But I woke up,
Yeah.
she said, "Let's get together for a drink." I said, "Sounds great." And it turned out I couldn't make it on a Wednesday night. And Thursday night I woke up and I'm like, I'm really feeling a strong pull towards her. I'm feeling a strong attraction. We are like talking like we're two best friends.
Mhm.
And so we end up meeting. I end up having to drive by her place, and we live like 30 minutes from each other. And I walked into her place and I told her, I said, I'm having really strong feelings for you. And she says, "I'm
Mhm.
having strong feelings for you." And so I
Interesting.
walked into her place. We walked in the kitchen. She was going to make me a drink, and I just planted a kiss on her.
Uh-huh.
Now I felt like I had permission. So just for anyone who
Yeah,
thinks
yeah.
like doing a Me Too here, I felt
Oh
the
gosh.
energy. And then
Yeah.
we spent the next 5 hours on her couch unpacking what the fuck just happened. By the way, she's like me. She processes everything. We are cut from the same cloth.
I love this.
And why this is so important is we started with a little bit of judgment.
Mhm.
In other words, and when I say judgment, we chose not, there was no pull towards one another. We were like, oh, she's not my type. He's not my type. We both felt it and we both put each other in the friend zone. So when we spent the next day, 10 days talking, we were just talking freely about who we were. I heard about her marriage. I heard
Right.
about her last relationship. I heard about her children. She heard about my last, like we spoke without that pressure of
To, like, impress somebody,
exactly.
right?
And
Yes.
the more we talked, the more we were impressed with one another. And what's interesting
Interesting.
now that I reflect back on the pull, that chemistry, if I look back at all my previous relationships, I was drawn like, okay, I have what's known as an anxious attachment style from a love
Oh, okay.
attachment style
Uh-huh.
perspective. And the women I've fallen in love with are all avoidance.
Oh, yeah. Oh gosh. Okay.
And
Okay.
they all represent my mother. And it was involuntary because what I've come to realize is that instant off the charts chemistry is oftentimes an involuntary attraction to someone else based on a childhood wound. We are reliving our
Oh.
childhood through these experiences.
Oh,
And
okay, I've
since,
never heard it like that. That is
well,
something
that's
that's
a
gonna
new awareness for
definitely
me too.
think on. Wow.
Yeah, I now
Okay.
reflect back. And I would say that oftentimes what feels like chemistry is really a childhood, wound. And you have to study the Imago by Harvell Hendricks and Helen Hunt. The
Mhm.
Imago spelled Imago.
Okay.
And oftentimes that's what's happening outside of lust or limerence. Let me just say, lust is I want to have sex with you, limerence is extreme infatuation. But that kind of involuntary pull, which we perceive as chemistry, is oftentimes an unhealthy, insecure attachment to another person. In this particular case, there was no insecure attachment. We started to build chemistry through our heart shares, and now we're incredibly physically attracted to one another. The sex is
Yeah.
fucking off the charts, surprisingly. And I'm just going to say, we were like,
Yeah.
holy shit, this is the best sex we've ever had
That's
because we're
so
having
cool.
emotional sex with each other as well as
Right.
physical.
Okay, so here's a question.
Okay.
Do you think that this story you just shared is somewhat of an anomaly? And here's the reason I'm asking that. Because I feel like it would be rare that two people would both feel neutral the day after a first date, 5 hours just chatting, getting to know one another. I would think that typically after a date, it's either both people are like, "Woo, yeah," like and whether it's lust, whether it's limerence, whether it's true natural intrigue, chemistry, whatever you want to call it, or it's one person is like, "Oh my god, yeah, like she's so hot or he's so hot." And the other one's like, not really. And then,
No.
you kind of just go your separate ways or ghost or, do one of the send the text that's like, hey, you were great, but I'm
Yeah.
looking for something different. So do you feel like your situation is somewhat of an anomaly and doesn't happen that often? Or do you feel like this happens more often than we realize? Hey everyone, are you enjoying this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it? If so, forward it to a friend, rate it 5 stars, send me a note with your feedback. I absolutely love hearing from you. And while you have your phone in your hand, head on over to Instagram and subscribe to our page at thescarlet.edit. All right, let's get back to the show.
I think I'm going to frame it this way. First off, I think it's an anomaly to answer your question. I think oftentimes it's our prejudice, it's our judgments, it's our fantasy, it's our pickiness, it's our ego that's driving the bus. And when the ego is driving the bus, you're rolling the dice every single time with another human being. Because what makes this unique is that we weren't like, I wasn't looking at her like I'm repulsed by her, it wasn't like, but it was just, she wasn't
Yeah.
my type per se.
Uh-huh.
And I wasn't her type. By the way, we're
Yeah.
both in our 60s. We've got wrinkles. We've got baggy eyes. We got shit. And
Yeah.
and and by the way, we're 6 months apart in age. So, um, but I think what makes this rare is that we chose to connect at a heart-centered level. Most human beings aren't doing that. Now, guess what? Before the internet, that's the way a lot of relationships were. You met somebody
Yeah.
through your work, you
Mhm.
got to know someone over a period of time and attraction grew over time. That's the way it was for 50 plus years before the internet.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about how many people met their significant other at work.
At work or at school.
Yeah, or
You know,
school or yeah,
it
exactly.
wasn't like they wanted to jump their bones the first time they met, and sometimes there was even a bit of friction, but the
Yeah,
attraction
true.
grew over time. You see, we've
Mhm.
gotten out of that
Of that.
form of connection. We make quick judgments, quick
Mhm.
thinking
Well, and that
based
was
on
my initial question of do you think we dismiss people too quickly? And the reason that I had written that down as a question for you is cuz I noticed myself, for
yeah,
example, recently someone had said, what are some of your top travel things that you haven't done that you wanted to do? And this is
yeah,
a male friend that's been a part of my life for quite some time. And, he's thrown out periodically like that we should date one another.
yeah.
And so I said it would be really fun to I really want to go to Africa and go on a safari and, do this. And his response was like, oh, I'm not really a safari guy. So immediately in my mind, I'm like, nope, because I'm like, I want someone that wants to go on a safari.
So, okay, well, it's interesting. During those 10 days we were talking, I was And there was a little bit of connection going on. I don't want to say that there wasn't some little intrigue. We were intrigued by each other. But I was very upfront with her. I said, look, I'm terrible at travel. I am a nervous Nelly when I travel. I'm a nightmare. When I was like, I'm trying to turn her off by me. Okay. Now,
Uh-huh.
I was kind of exaggerating it a little bit, but I said, look, I'm not good at planning travel. So if I was ever in relationship with you or someone else, I'd say, like, and I just said, would you be the type of person that could plan everything? I could just wear a face mask and just close my eyes and just trust you. And she goes,
Uh-huh.
that's fine with me. So
Oh,
so what that took was a level of awareness about myself because every
sure.
woman's dating profile says travel. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm going to just nip at the bud. I'm shitty at it,
Yeah.
but I'll do it. Okay.
Right, right.
So,
I like
okay.
that.
But here's the thing: when you know your fears, your insecurities, your negative patterns, when you know that, I'm like lead. Some people would disagree with me. I lead with it because I want to scare the wrong person off. This woman, she's like, "Fuck, I'll just take care of everything. If you trust me, I'm like, and I'll just pay my share, kind of thing." In fact, we
Uh-huh.
have a trip planned in a few months, and she just planned everything because I know I'm not good at it. Now, does that mean I can't step up and do it? Of course, I can.
Yeah.
But it's just not my favorite thing. Just like
But
I'm
I
good at
think
other things that she's not good at.
that was exactly what I was gonna say. I think it's great to kind of set the stage, especially in this whole midlife arena that we've been
Yeah.
discussing, right? I mean, with some things, like, we are who we are. I'm not saying we can't evolve as people, but there are some things that are like, okay, this is just like who I am. Like, I'm not great at this, but I am great at that. And so
Yeah.
kind of like you're saying, it's like just sharing that from the jump so there aren't these false expectations that are created. Because I mean, our minds are crazy things, right? Our minds will sit and like make up all these stories that we haven't communicated to the person. And then we get pissed off when they're not doing what our mind expected them to do. And they're like, well, you never even told me that you wanted me to do that. How would I
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Well,
Y-
the problem is we're expected to be mind readers. You know what, though,
Yeah.
Nikki? I want to share something so important about why
Oh, there
this
we go.
might be the exception, not the rule.
Uh
But
huh.
what matters most in this story is we became really good friends through those
Hmm.
telephone calls. I mean, we became really good friends. We
Well, yeah,
liked each
50.
other's
That's like two
personality.
full 24-hour days that it sounds like you guys spent on the phone over the course of 10. That's a lot of time.
We were shocked because we just liked who the other person was, and it is through the friendship that the attraction was being birthed from it. Now we have a lot of shared values, our lifestyles are kind of compatible, and also I'm gonna speak for her. She's an emotional grown-up in my mind. I'm still working on it, but, I think she would say the same thing. But it is through the friendship, and the sad part about dating today, I said this to you in the beginning of the conversation, we hyper focus on attraction, entertainment, romance, and physical connection. I've heard some women say, he didn't offer to treat my valet on the date. I'll never see him again. Or he took me on a coffee date. I'll never see him again. And I think, God, you're choosing the lowest common like issues to
Uh
say
huh.
no to.
Hmm.
Because character and is probably one of the most important things I think to look at within a person. But most importantly, do you vibe with this person as a friend? Like,
Yeah.
like think of Monica and Chandler on
Oh
Friends,
my
right?
gosh. Yeah.
Like and by the way, there's an interesting story to that because they operated as friends. They really didn't like each other's personality. Monica was an OCD freak. Chandler was bad at his jokes, sort of thing. But over a
Yeah.
while, they grew on each other. Actually, every cast member, they kept growing on each other. And so they built such a solid friendship by the time that they had sex, it ignited it like, holy shit, we get to have friendship and we get to fuck. How awesome is
Yeah.
that?
Totally. No,
Please forgive
it's
the F
so
word, folks.
true. No, don't. I mean, well, I thought you were saying that to me. I'm like, you don't have to forgive me. I think that I would assume most of my listeners are cool with that too. No, and that is so true. And I think that kind of also goes back to the the self-love piece and understanding yourself, knowing yourself, and then this whole arena that we're in these days where everything is like so instant, so surface level. Oh, so one of the things you mentioned about somebody saying like, "Oh, like, he didn't treat my valet, or he didn't,
Yeah.
he only asked me to go to coffee or whatever." No, I
Yeah.
go back and forth with the first date coffee date, because on one hand, I'm like, a coffee date for a first date sounds fantastic, because if I'm not vibing with you, then it's a quick turn.
Yeah.
Oh, my latte's done, I'm out of here. And then on the other hand, it's also nice if somebody does want to like plan a nice date and invite you to go somewhere and have a meal. And I think that it kind of varies too where you are in your own process with dating. Cause like for me, I now know I don't want to connect with somebody online and not, I'd like to speak with them on the
Yeah.
phone prior to going to meet in person.
Yeah.
Cause I feel like you can learn a lot just from, can you hold a conversation with me?
Can I
So I don't
respond to
know.
this?
Please,
Okay, I
please.
can't wait to respond to this. So, okay, couple things. First off, meeting at a Starbucks is kind of lame. Let's just be honest with you. Okay, so and yet we might want to do that, especially if we're feeling suspect. Okay, but by the way, I know many couples who have met at Starbucks and got married. So let's. I don't want to diss Starbucks in any way or. Um, Now, I chose a breakfast meeting, and I call it the first time you meet someone. I don't like to call it a date. I like to call it a meeting. Can we just agree that we are two people that are strangers? And I'd like to do it under the guise of just like meeting a friend. Like that was the way I framed it with her. Can we take the pressure off of the word date and all the expectations that come with date, particularly the expectation on us men, because it's
Yeah.
our job to plan, pick, and do everything. Now,
Mhm.
and
Well,
so
it
what
should be, but a lot of men don't wanna do that, and I think that
well,
that's
you just said
probably
it
one of
should
the
be.
issues.
By the
I
way, you
think it
said,
should be.
okay, I believe, okay, granted, if two people met in an organic environment, there's mutual attraction, that sort of thing. Usually, traditionally, men do the asking. That's traditionally not should be. It's just a tradition. Okay.
Okay.
Um, and I just want to be careful because I think shoulds can be dangerous words, okay? Because
Okay,
it's
fair.
supposed to be that way instead of it's just traditionally that way. Because a woman can initiate a date, absolutely. And it's
Oh,
not
for
going to shrink
sure.
a man's penis by initiating it, okay? It's not going to
No,
intimidate him to the,
I
you know.
agree.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's put
No,
that.
don't get me wrong, I agree. I guess let's using the word you just used, traditional, I am more traditional.
Okay,
So, I prefer a more traditional
okay. How,
situation.
but I operate a little bit differently. I like to have it as a co-creative experience. Traditionally, men initiate the first one. Let's just suck that up and say that's going to be the norm. But I think after that, it's really a free for all where two people can co-create their experience going forward. I like meeting for coffee. Let me explain why. I've gone on more cocktail dates, dinner dates, everything fancy with a total stranger, literally walking up, saying hello, going, I wish I could get the fuck out of here. So, if
Yeah,
you've done enough of that, you're like, why invest that much? And
totally.
was nice about what happened with her and I was we actually connected on a more social level without the libation that can cloud judgment. Okay.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
sadly, alcohol can cloud judgment. So I'm more in favor of something kind of basic at first to see if there is a mutual attraction.
Mhm.
And then, by the way, I told you I went to her house, for the second
Mhm.
time. I did take
Yeah.
her out on a proper date to a nice restaurant for our
Uh-huh.
third. Okay. Took
Nice.
her, I spared no expense. We went to a really nice restaurant. It was very
Yeah.
romantic and fun because we built this foundation first. Very concerned when we use romance as a entry point into a relationship versus romance
Yeah.
as the icing on the cake of a relationship. And so when we expect to be entertained in romance, again, the reason why those 100 women are complaining is because we've gone away from being intentional and
Mm,
we expect to be entertained. And that's what's happened for both men and women. Men are expected to entertain. Women won't, you know, like you if you don't entertain them. And I think that's the weakest form of beginning a relationship. What should be oh,
Yeah.
I use the word should. What I'm
Ah.
encouraging people, please forgive that S word, is encouraging how can two people connect at a heart-centered level, like really
Uh-huh.
connect with each other's heart. I mean, their core essence, their core truth. How can we get to someone's truth? And if we're focused on entertainment and romance and physical attraction and and chemistry, we're not going to get to a person's truth. And then we roll the dice. By the way, I'm sure you've had circumstances where you've had great chemistry, and then all of a sudden, a few weeks later, you're like, I don't even like this person anymore.
Yeah, yes,
Right?
yes. No, it is really true, and I think that everything that you've been saying about all of these feelings that have come to the forefront of modern dating are they're so surface level. So the expectation is that if I walk into the room to meet this man, or I walk into the room to meet this woman, and I don't feel those fireworks and chemistry and all the things, then it's not there, and it's like not worth it, and I should just leave, or I'm not going to call this person again, or whatever it may be. When I think taking steps backwards in time, like you mentioned, and how because we didn't have apps, we didn't have everything at our fingertips and everything on demand, and that temptation of, ooh, if I swipe one more time, what could be on the next photo that I see? That, oftentimes relationships did start differently and with that slower burn, or just as friends for years. And then I mean, I feel like I haven't heard a story in forever of a couple that met who says, oh God, we were friends for 10 years and then we ended up getting together. I haven't heard a story like that in ages. So you're making me reflect and think about things differently.
Well, and it's interesting. I did have a client today. She met a guy through MySpace 20 years ago and
That's
they reconnected.
amazing.
So I just heard a story like that, but that is so the
Yeah.
exception, not the rule. You know,
Mhm.
sadly, because the environment we live in, we dismiss people oftentimes way too quickly. We
Yeah.
jump into circumstances way too quickly, and we operate and sadly, you know, women operate like men are the leaders of the relationship. That's kind of the way it's traditionally been throughout history. And what I coach is look at you are in charge of your relationship destiny. Don't give that up to anyone else but yourself. Be empowered, have standards, ask deeper questions early on. If you're afraid that it's going to ruin the dynamic, I'm here to say in my book, What the Heck is Self Love Anyway? Chapter 1, speak your truth. Just do it from a kind place. And chapter 9 is if it's sincere and from the heart, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. I had a client just today, we had our coaching session, and she's scared. I mean, it's very uncomfortable for her. And she just started to engage with a guy text message. And she's like, how can I get this to a phone call? And I'm pulling up my phone because she just messaged me and I want to share with it. So I said, look, simply say this. I got to be honest with you. I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little nervous. I'd love to speak to you on your phone, but I don't know how to do this. I'm not good at dating. And the guy said right back and he goes, here's my number. Let's just jump on a phone call. And then she said
Aw.
she was shocked. They had a very nice conversation and they have a date scheduled a few days from now. She even
Uh-huh.
told him she's working with a dating coach. And he's like, really?
Oh,
I want
that's
to hear
cute.
more. And
Uh-huh.
it was because she told me she was afraid. And I just said, tell him you're afraid. The right guy is not going to be like, only an asshole is going to be, inconsiderate, but an empathetic man would say, I get it. It is scary. And so, what if we led with our heart instead of our lower chakra or our ego?
I totally agree, because I think sometimes, and tell me if you agree with this statement,
Yeah.
that women often go into dating, or go into a date rather, with the I hope he likes me thought that's top of mind,
Yeah.
versus do I like him,
Yeah.
which I think it should be. I think I should go into every date that I go on with, am I going to like this guy? Do I like this guy? And I don't give a shit if he likes me. I want to know, like, do I like him? Do I want to continue investing my time and energy into this man?
I think whenever we're attracted to someone, but believe men do the exact same thing too. If we're attracted to a person, we're like, I hope she
Mhm.
likes me. I hope she likes me. And she's doing, I hope he likes me. I hope he likes me. Like,
Mhm.
but what's missing and I'm in full agreement is, do I like this person's personality? Do I believe that
Mhm.
they're a person of integrity? Do they seem emotionally mature? And by the way, there are some very easy ways to to test this, you know? That's why I established a coaching program to help you, because you can ask a couple series of questions to make it really easy to see if someone's an emotional grown up. And yet we're so surface in conversation because we want to be entertained and romanced, instead of going, is this a person I want to get to know outside of attraction? And do I like this person, as you said?
Yeah. Okay. I have so enjoyed this conversation, Jonathan.
I thought you were
It's
gonna rattle
been
off another 10 questions.
No, I do have one question that I wanna end with. I wanna know from you, what is your number 1 red flag?
You know, I'm vacillating. But the one that stands to mind is if they throw their ex under the bus as if it's
Mm.
100% their fault for the ending of the relationship, whether it's an ex-spouse or an ex partner. And they take zero accountability. And usually the most classic one is, I was with a narcissist, I was with an alcoholic, stuff like that. If you don't take some ownership on your part, then that tells me you probably haven't done the prerequisite healing work
Mm,
to heal from that relationship. That's my
yeah,
number one red flag.
I think
What's
that's a fair
yours?
one. God, I mean, as I'm sitting here asking you this question, I'm like, what is my answer to this
Yeah.
question? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'll probably cut this out of the episode, but I have not been on a date in over a year. So I am very out of the dating market.
Oh, don't
So
cut this out. Leave it in.
uh, yeah, so it's been a while. I mean,
But
I
can I change something?
yeah, of course.
I want to say, instead of thinking of red flags, what I'm thinking of is, what are the green flags? Like, what are the
That's what I
real
was gonna be
green
another
flags?
question. Yeah, what are
Yeah,
some good
because,
green flags?
well, by the way, when someone takes ownership of the ending of their
Mhm,
relationship, when they take heartfelt
mhm.
ownership, that's a green flag. I'm actually, I because I have a habit of taking red flags and painting them green, by the way.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I have a habit of wearing rose-colored glasses. So,
That's amazing.
yeah, and, well, because I'm a coach, I can be rather empathetic to someone's backstory. Um,
Yeah.
but you know what? I I'm gonna share something. My girlfriend, God, it's funny to say the word girlfriend. Just just because I feel like I'm too old for that word. Is that
Ah,
she
I
had
think it's
something.
sweet.
I'll share something with you.
Uh-huh.
She started about 2 years ago. She started something called her Enchanted Journal, and
Okay.
it's a journal, but she's dialoguing with herself. So it's as if there's two people talking, and
Okay.
very few people. I mean, there's an interesting um presence when you can separate yourself as to two people and have a conversation, but physically writing it down. I mean, we all have
Mhm.
voices in our head. In fact, some of
Yeah.
us have a fraternity or sorority in our head. But learning this dialogue, she was really exploring, what did she want to feel in relationship. And when she shared this to me, weeks into our relationship, or excuse me, about 2 months into our relationship, she was reading some passages and she goes, "This is exactly what I've been feeling with our relationship, Jonathan." And she had written that down 2 years ago. She was
Wow.
really processing, what did she want to feel? And I
That's
think,
so cool.
sadly, we humans don't know enough about what we want from the vantage point of, what do we really want to feel in relationship? We want to feel safe. We want to feel seen. We want to feel heard. We want to feel accepted. We want to feel loved. We want to feel desired, all these things. But those are great words to write down. Now elaborate it into a story of what it feels like to experience these things that we all want to feel. Like, everything I just shared is what most men as well as women. We want to feel respected. We want to feel cherished. but write a story about it. And when you can embody the story and go, this is what I want to feel. The other thing is to let go of that. Remember those 100 women that wrote and it was all the
Yeah.
negativity, and start
Hmm.
embracing the possibility that it's just one swipe. Like it's literally the next swipe could be it instead
Yeah,
of dreading the
definitely.
next swipe.
I'm so with you on that because it was funny. I had a thought after I was reading through all of the responses about how basically every continent is terrible for dating.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought to myself, like, wow, this could be. I mean, it certainly was disheartening, but I also thought that like it could have changed my internal like hopes and wants and my optimism. I mean, I am a eternal optimist, and
Yeah.
I just saw today that they added some new words to the dictionary, and delulu is one of them, and I'm like, that's me. I live in a state of delusion that I am going to achieve every goal I've ever set for myself, that I'm going to, every single thing that I want is already on its way to me if it's not
Yeah.
already arrived, and that I am going to meet like the perfect man just who's been out there waiting for me.
Yeah.
And so, but I thought like, God, reading all this could really like change somebody's perspective. And
Like,
instead of looking at what kind of positives can I say from this? And like you said, like maybe it's the next guy. Like my favorite thing about life is that I never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I
yeah.
love that.
When I was, I was in a significant relationship that ended a few years ago, and we'd lived together, and I was heartbroken when it ended. I was able to self-reflect and understand why she felt to move on, because honestly, if it's not right for one, it's not right for both. And I'm very grateful, even though it hurt a little bit, I'm very grateful. But then, once I really put myself out there about a year later, and I gave it a full year before I really put myself out there legitimately. And I was like, I woke up every day going, hey, today could be that one swipe away, instead of like, oh, it's dreading. Oh, it's dreading. And so we have a choice. We can fill the cup with hope and possibility, or we can focus. Look at, I'm being radically honest. It's a shit show out there. It's dysfunctional. It's the Hunger Games. But my feeling
Totally.
is, if you want to put the odds in your favor, like that show, then put it with hope. Put it with watching something that puts you in that energetic framework of attracting and being what you want. Because if you're in that negative Nelly, or that doom and gloom, then you're just going to
Yeah.
attract more of that. That's not
100.
fun.
No, it's not fun at all. It's like, why would you
Yeah.
want more? Like, just be positive, be optimistic.
Yeah.
It makes life way more fun. I promise you that.
Yeah. By the
So,
way, I mean, if we can't laugh at that's the other thing. I've laughed at every one of my experiences. I'm like, my
for
God,
sure.
it's like I learned. I don't know if you know the story of Edison, and it took him 2,000 attempts to create a light bulb.
Mm.
And my thing is, I looked at 2,000 silly ways I couldn't make a light bulb. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
what another silly way I couldn't make a light bulb.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and at least, if I believe, if we approach it from that vantage point instead of the heaviness, the dread, the disappointment, and believe me,
Mm.
I'm not here to diminish anyone's experience of pain. But we also have a choice to heal. We can do that. And I think that's the invitation. Our podcast is inviting those that are listening to do, is work on
Yeah.
yourself and be optimistic.
100%. And that is a beautiful way to wrap this up. So, thank you so much for being here, and tell everybody how they can find you.
Okay, my name is Jonathon Aslay. Put it in Google. The first thing that will come up is my YouTube channel. I have over 200,000 followers there. You can, if
Awesome.
any of my videos resonate with you, plop one on, listen. I'm just as brazen on those videos as I am here, or silly as well. You can go to my website that's listed there. You can go to my social media. And I have my book on Amazon called What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? Very simplistic book. It is not, like, it's not the Untethered Soul, but it's an Untethered Soul light, if you will.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so much. And everybody, thank you as always for listening. If you liked this episode, please go on Apple and give it a 5-star rating, and a review would be just the icing on top. And thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next week.